Hello YouTube. When we last left off, we were on, I think part 3 or 4? I don't remember, of the warehouse build. We're going to go ahead and call this part 4, I think. And as you can see, the upper roof is on there and glued and ready to go. Now I need to cut out this side over here, and so I'm just going to turn the building around and start working on this side. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Just have to slice off this little piece here, which will be, let's see, how does this go? Should we go like this? Let's use the factory edge. No, I can't use the factory edge. We have to use this side. Okay, so I forget. I have to put a gap in there on this side. So I will have to stand it up on end. Make a mark on it. And then I'll have to slice this off. I think this is actually the first time I'm showing me slicing off the little nubbles. It's not that hard to do. Just enough to clear the roof bracket so it sits down flush, which gives me a good gluable surface. Okay, so I cut a notch out of the little lines there. I'll go ahead and try to fit it back down on there again. Now the reason why I do this is because it's never going to be straight. It's never going to be the same twice. Now, this is actually really different because this piece is actually sinking down a little too far. So this is going to be a very, very, very interesting modification that I have to do to this roof right here. What I have to do is I have to actually cut out a little bit of the roof. Is that the line, or let me check it again? I want to make sure I'm at the right line. That is the right line. So this is going to be really difficult to actually get it to come out. Probably going to have to do a lot of cutting. But what happened was this bracket, it didn't actually sit on this bracket as flush on this side as it did over here on this side. I didn't notice it until after it was already dry, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to modify the roof a little bit. But if I do it right, it won't show too bad. And I'll still be able to cover it up when I run the aluminum foil pieces over the roof. Not to mention it's going to give it a unique look. And it'll be unique alright. Not great, but it'll be unique. So I'm going to take my tweezers and just break out this little piece. You can see the notch I cut in there. If it works, I'll start to clean it up a little bit. I'm not going to leave it looking ugly like that. So I'll go ahead and fit it on there. Actually have to go over toward this side slightly to make it fit, because it's fatter than I thought it was. This is something right here that has to be done a lot in kitbashing, unfortunately, is the modification aspect of it. This is something that goes hand in hand with kitbashing, but that's how you get those unique one-of-a-kind buildings that that make you proud of the build later on. I'm just going to clean out just a hair more, and then I'll get it up. I'm doing it right here off camera like this. And then I'll show you up close what kind of morphodated little cutout I got going on. The notch in the roof. Looks ugly right now, but just watch and see. So, I'm going to stick this on. Oh, don't want it to move. Stick this on there. Line it up. I'm lining it up with this piece of roof down here, so it has the same gap in between. It's kind of what I want. I actually need to come up quite a bit, actually. Almost all the way to that line. Which is considerably more than I thought I'd have to do. But if it looks right in the end, then it was worth doing. If it doesn't, I can always put it back the way I had it, because I'm going to be putting stuff over the top of it, so you'll never see it. That's the one cool thing about modeling. You always have these little hiccups that you run into, and trying to solve them is like trying to solve a puzzle. Now that's awesome right there. Alright, now I'll lift it up close to the camera so you can see. You see what I have there is a gap. You can see that the roof section has a gap across. I want it to be the same width across, and by cutting the notch out, I was able to get it flush onto this roof, which will make for a good glue portion. Okay, my battery's dying, so I'm gonna have to cut this video off here, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off, measure it and cut it off, and when we come back, you'll see how this fits in there. See ya. Hello there, YouTubers. So when we last left off with the structure, we were working on this little section here, which I carved out the notch in there to make it fit, and I was going to go ahead and build a second wall or roof piece for the back. So I'll have to use the factory edge on this side, and I'll go ahead and put a notch on it. And the problem with that is I can't see the other side, so I have to put this on top of it and scrape it. So, so far this building is actually panning out pretty well. When you're kit bashing and putting stuff together, a lot of times you don't. Well, I don't. A lot of times I don't have a plan. You know, there's not really an overall plan of how I'm building. A lot of times I just go on the fly and make things up as I go. But I do have inspiration. A lot of times I'll have inspiration on building certain things, such as seeing a photo of a prototype building, or visiting an area, or somebody shares a photo with me on Flickr or anywhere on the internet. And you know, it just gives me that little bit of inspiration that I needed to say, oh, yeah, I was really inspired by that. So I'm going to hold this close to me again. I'm going to go ahead and peel this piece off of here. That's how I do it. Makes a little pigtail kind of. But for the most part, you know, I think the structure is turning out pretty good. Even though it is on the fly and I'm not really planning anything, it is kind of coming out alright, you know. Could it be better? Yeah, probably. But it's going to look good nonetheless when it's done. So I want to make sure I get right in the center in case you guys missed something. I'm going to go ahead and put this piece on first, since it's pretty much the guide on how far this needs to go up toward the top. And oh, that looks pretty good. I have a burr on here I don't like. I'll take that off real quick. Now I am going to add finish trim and you know, put putty in the holes and the cracks and everything to make it all fit together nicely. Because I want it nice and neat, you know. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it, to my standards, like when I call something perfect, I've had this before. I call something perfect. That doesn't mean I'm perfect. That doesn't mean I did it perfect. It just means, to me, it means it's good enough. Don't keep messing with it. You're going to screw it up. Leave it the way it is. It's good enough. To me, that's my perfect. It doesn't have to be visually stunning or anything like that. It's just good enough to keep. So, yeah, this thing's looking pretty good so far. It fits pretty good. So I'll go ahead and glue this on. I'll cut away, come back when it's glued, and I'll show it to you so you can get an idea of what it looks like. Okay, so you can pretty much see that the roof, for the most part, is nearly completed. At least the more difficult parts are. Looks kind of neat. Looks definitely unique. This is not real straight, but you can see there's a fatter piece down here toward this end than there is up here at that end. I can fix that. That's not a problem. When this is dry, or That's not dry all the way yet. When the glue is dried all the way on this piece, I can fix that fairly easy. But for the most part, the roof is on there. It's looking pretty good. Now you can see, let me see if I can hold this with one hand. Right down in here, there's a gap going across there where the roof is, okay, that looks pretty good right there. Where the roof is like cut out and missing in a little section there. I have this wide piece left over, and as you know from seeing the past of this video, there's this little channel piece there. The channel piece was actually perfect to cut along the ridge to leave the main shingle piece plus a tiny lip on the outer edge, which will make near mathematical sense to fit in there, seeing as how it takes one piece plus a little tiny ridge. So let's see how close it actually is. I can stick it in there. Okay, it's too long, but it's actually, I couldn't get any better than that. It's almost, it looks like it was almost made for it. So let's try to cut this off straight. Sand it a little bit so it's nice and straight and flush. And let's see. Well, I cut it a little too short. Actually, it's not really too short. It just needs to be sanded a little bit more. But it looks pretty darn good. There's no way I'm going to be able to hold this and then pick it up for you to see, so I'm just going to glue it on real quick and then I'll show you how close it actually is. It's kind of hard to believe. It's like I planned it that way. Yeah, that's right, I planned it that way. Okay, so, well, here we go. Stick that right in there. Start popping up on me. Try not to glue my fingers to it. Okay, I'm going to let it sit for a couple seconds, but the main thing is that it's in there. And voila, look at that. That looks pretty darn good. Not perfect, but pretty darn good. Perfect by my standards, which is good enough. Okay, I think if I clean these pieces up here, there's some burrs from where the little pegs were connected to the sprues. Just go along and do a rough clean with the X-Acto knife, and then do a quick once over with the file to make sure that these are all off. And then I'll test fit it real quick. Just go a long ways down the piece of plastic. I have an idea for a new tool that I want to build. I have a really wide rasp file, it's not really an idea for a tool I want to build. It's an idea of how I want to set it up. I actually want to take a rasp file and either screw it down or glue it down to my table, and then, you know, in an area that I'm not using, and then I can just take the plastic that I want and go like this and rub it on there, and bam, I don't have to pick up the file and move it around and all that. So I've been thinking about doing that for a while. I think it'd be a good idea. Okay, so try fitting this in here. There is a gap here, but like I said, with the corrugated metal on here, doesn't even look like I really need to add the corrugated metal. If I just have a regular roof like this, it doesn't look like it would be much of a problem. So yeah, I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and set that there. I'm going to mark here at the end where I want this to be cut. Find a straight edge, make sure it's a factory edge. Okay, it's right there. Make a better defined mark on there. Cut this off, give it a quick filing. And check it out. Okay, I got one more. I'll go ahead and clean it up, cut it the same length, and get it on there, and when we come back, you'll see how it looks.